Hey everyone, Gage Ryan here to showcase my Dino Rabbit Primite deck for you. So, whenever I saw the Primite cards, I immediately was interested. It immediately struck me as a deck that could be its own engine, you could splash it into other things, I mean, you could play it as its own standalone deck. There was just a ton of potential with the cards themselves, and they all had what I'll loosely call automatic advantage. Just everything seems to get you something else, everything seems to keep you in the game. I mean, it's a great engine by itself, and it also has helped, in a small way, revitalize normal monsters. With cards like the Lordly Lewd, this card is absolutely obnoxious. And I mean, this is a one-card Logia or Dulka if you choose to go that route with Primite Roar. So you can use this card, search for Primite Roar, play Primite Roar, special of Vanilla, and then use the Lordly Lewd, special the other Vanilla, and it's Christmas. So being able to make these really solid negate cards like Logia and Dulka with very few resources is why Dino Rabbit was able to work way back in the day in the first place. So if you're able to find other cards that can help you get to that strategy without using a lot of resources, or without using cards that are just objectively terrible nowadays, like Jirak Gwaiba. And shout out to my brother Slim. I know Rescue Rabbit's his favorite card, Dino Rabbit's one of his favorite decks of all time, but I've always wanted to build Dino Rabbit again in some capacity, with just more modern cards and a more modern strategy, and this is definitely the best version of it I've come up with since, you know, the deck's heyday, for sure. And is this a tier 1 deck? No, but is it going to beat a lot of decks that aren't prepared for it? Yes, and can it actually steal games from tier 1 decks if they don't know how to play against this kind of grindy stun strategy? Yes, 100%. So let's get into it. So you got Triple Baral. I mean, this card is obnoxious. I mean, it's a one-card engine because you're searching it every turn, or searching off of it, I should say, every turn, and then you contribute, send a normal monster, bring it back, standby. Card is obnoxious. And I mean, it helps with your rank 4 engine, which doesn't seem intimidating in 2024, but it can definitely help out a lot. And then you got Triple Megalo Smasher and Triple Sabersaurus, along with the 3 bunnies. But yeah, so we got I put the Megalo Smashers in here. I actually was messing around with another Earth vanilla monster that was also a dinosaur, because I thought it could be really good in combination with the Tenyi and Hara, so I could make more Naturia beasts. But I just like Megalo Smasher being able to make Bahamut Shark Triatoad if you absolutely need to have just a generic negate like Triatoad, because sometimes Triatoad is better than having like a Logia or having a Dulka, even at points, because sometimes you'll want to steal that opponent's resource, and if you're just not sure what they have or something like that, or if, like, let's say they have, like, you've already used your Logia, it's another good resource. So Megalo Smasher for now. But actually, believe it or not, Crawling Dragon and things like that are also possibilities. And then 3 Rescue Rabbits, the 3 Stooges. I'm just so happy they're back at 3. I mean, I immediately started tinkering with the deck when it came back to 3. And I mean, like I said, before the Primite engine, I didn't really come up with anything, but I mean, this card by itself, minus Ash Blossom and Impermanence, is just a really good standalone card. You got 3 Fenrir. I mean, just another good field control standalone card, searches you shit every turn. You guys know what it does. And then Riseheart, which, I mean, just pairs really well with them. I'm still not sure about Riseheart. Riseheart and the spell, the Kachtira spell, are the 2 slots that I'm still not really certain about. I kind of go back and forth with them, along with these other cards that I'll get to here in a minute. But I mean, just being able to make 7s can be good. Being able to make the cash rank 7 is really good. And then on top of that, there are times where your opponent will put down some kind of like, this card can't be like destroyed by card effects, and it has a lot of attack or something, and you really struggle to get over that without like your droplet or something. So that's why I play this Dark Anthelian Dragon in here. But this is definitely, like, if you find a better spot, I totally understand. And then 1 Condemned Witch. This may sound like a fluff choice, but it's something that it was at first, but I've come to really enjoy it so far. Who knows if it'll stay in here long term, but right now, Condemned Witch, being able to search your droplet whenever you want, or a lance, which actually has saved me a couple of times. It can be really, really helpful. And then on top of that, for those that don't know, Condemned Witch, then on your opponent's turn, you contribute it and special summon a level 4 fairy from the deck. And so what I've been doing is comboing that with a Barrier Statue of the Heavens. So this is something that you either have to main deck or not really play at all. It's kind of just its own, like, little individual engine. But the thing is that there are light decks and light cards. So I'm not sure about it yet, and I feel like if I take this out, then I have have reason to take the Condemned Witch out and then the Lance out, and I'm just not sure, because I do like having Droplet, I do like having Lance, so we'll just see where that goes. But the Barrier Statue, like, if you can actually, so play all your other stuff, do your thing, and then go Condemned Witch normal summon, add your Droplet. So now you got Condemned Witch, Droplet, and then on your opponent's turn, you throw a Barrier Statue into play. So even if the only other thing you had in that hand, the only other useful card, if you drew like 3 other vanillas or whatever, and all you had was, like, let's say a Fenrir, a Barrier Statue, and a Droplet, like, that's still not bad, you know, for minimal amount of cards. And then if, like I said, if you had a better hand than that, and you had like a Dulka in play, plus the Barrier Statue, plus Droplet, it gets really hard for your opponent to play after a while. And that's, again, with very minimal resources. So then the 1 Inspect border, I felt like I needed another monster, and this is definitely, it's good standalone 2000 attack, can win games on its own. Great card. The 1 Tenyid Hara, which is actually one of the, believe it or not, is one of the first choices that I had in the deck whenever I was messing around with it in its initial beginning stages. And I messed with a lot of shit in that point, where I was like Fusion Destiny, I tried the Red Eyes package, I tried a whole bunch of different things. And in the middle of it all, I always had a Tenyid Hara in the deck, because Tenyid Hara helps drawing your Saber Sources not hurt nearly as bad. Let's say you go like Tenyid Hara, summon Rabbit, and they impermanence the Rabbit, you can still just go ahead and synchro into an Churia Beast with it. Just little cool plays that you can do like that. And then the only time where it's not really that great is whenever you draw the Megalo Smasher with it. But that's about it, and then usually Megalo Smasher, you have other cards in the deck to give it more utility. And Tenyid Hara, on top of that with Baral, is also really, really good, because you, again, like I mentioned, that Baral with its graveyard effects and being able to just keep recycling that card, and you have an Aturia Beast in play now. 3 Droll Unlock Birds. I wanted to kind of avoid hand traps by and large in this kind of deck, at least cards like, let's say, Impermanence or DD Crow or whatever, like these single-use cards, I wanted to kind of avoid those. With Droll, it stops them their entire turn. That's why you got Shifter in the side and things like that. I'll get back to Ghost Ogre, that's for a special purpose. But Droll and Lockbird is just so freaking good. And I mean, in the midst of game that is search happy and search crazy, like, if you go Dulka and then draw a Lockbird, like, how did you lose that game? You know what I mean? Then you got the 1 Ash Blossom to round out the 24 monster count. So I know, right, I just said single-use hand traps or something I kind of wanted to avoid in the deck, and here I am playing a copy of Ash Blossom. But Ash is just such a sensational utility card, and I actually really like that I only played 1. Initially, I just played it as a filler. But then I found that with Ash Blossom, I actually really like that you can just open Droll and Ash, and you don't have to worry about drawing the second Ash that's dead. If you draw a second Droll, it's actually not the end of the world, because now that means for 2 turns they're not going to be able to search anything. But I actually just found I really like having the 1 single slot of it. You're not drawing multiples, it doesn't end up dead or something like that. You don't end up with, like, let's say a monster effect or 2 and no defense. So I just like the 1. Except for monsters onto the spells, you got triple, Primite, Lordly. This card is fantastic. I mean, it's a +1, +2, depending on how you look at it. I mean, just being able to, it's a 1 card Logia Dulka. I mean, how else can I sell you on the card? You got triple Drill Beam, probably the best card in the deck. I mean, this card is obnoxious. I mean, just any single problem you want to get rid of, you get rid of it. It's searchable. Great card. 2 Super Poly. Believe it or not, pretty strong. I mean, just you can actually use it as a trap card just as much as a spell card. And it's great at breaking fields, and this deck can kind of struggle with big monsters at times, just like old Dino Rabbit used to. So, good card. You got double D-Fissure in the main. Yeah, in the main, I mean, I know that if you go second, it's not the best, but I mean, it's just one of those cards that, I mean, A, it can shut off certain hand traps like Veiler and Droll even. Like, if you Droll them and then D-Fissure on your turn, that's hilarious. But, you know, D-Fissure, just great card in general. Very glad it's back to 3. So then 1 Droplet and 1 Lance are your 2 forbidden targets for Condemned Witch. And so far, I just like having the 1 of each. I know, why wouldn't you play like 2 Droplet and no Lance? But I just like having the versatility. And I find that I just, with the amount of monster effect manipulation or the amount of reactions I have to things, I just find that like multiple Droplets isn't necessarily super important. You got the 1 Primite Roar. People probably think I'm crazy for this, say why wouldn't you play 3, but it's just not a normal Primite deck. So I find that, like, especially like you open multiples of it, it's just not the best. So I like 1, believe it or not. I mean, you can talk me into playing 2, I'm open to that, but 1 or 2 for sure on this card, at least in this kind of a deck. So the Kashtira spell, I already went over it. Really good card to help combo if you just, you open Fenrir plus this, plus like a Rabbit or something like that, and, add a defense card like Droll, or, I mean, Droll's not technically a defense card, but you get my point here. Your amount of layers of defense and your amount of layers of interruption just continue to add and add, and all the meanwhile you tend to gain resources, or at the very least, like with a card like Dulka, you make your opponent go -2, and like that's why you see 2 Dulka in here, just 1 Logia. Dulka is just fantastic. Anytime you can throw a -2 on the field for your opponent that negates monster effects, you're just usually in a great position from there. But like I said, if you wanted to take this out and take the Rise Heart out and replace it with 2 more slots, or like another monster and a trap or something, I could totally see that. 1 Prosperity, it's at 1, you might as well play it. 1 Call by the Grave, because there's one thing that's hurt Dino Rabbit for going on 15 years now, it's hand traps. On to the traps, we got a whopping 2 of them. You got Skill Drain, which is just, a nice self-destruct button, if you will. And then Karma Cannon, which is fantastic. I mean, it's again another self-destruct button, if you will. You don't really want to play it, but so theoretically you double negate off Dulka, play your hand trap, play your defenses, do this, do that, and then if they still are coming at you, then you just wait and flip the Karma Cannon. And then usually you'll be able to start playing more cards. I mean, once you have your continuous spell in play, you can theoretically just put another Logia or Dulka or another rank 4 on the field turn after turn after that point. So that's it for the deck. It's 42 cards in the main. I really wanted it to be over 40. Please do not play 40 in a deck like this. You can try it if you want, but you're going to draw vanillas, you're going to draw Rise Heart, you're going to draw all these things that you're going to find you need more space in the deck. It's just one of those things. I hated playing over 40 in a deck like this for a while, but then I found you just kind of need to, at least in my opinion, in this kind of build. On to the extra, you got double Dulka, 1 Logia for the reasons I mentioned before. Your Super Poly targets are just Starving Venom and Mud Dragon. The extra deck space is actually extremely crammed right now, so I'd like to play Garura or something, but we'll see what happens. You got Naturia Beast, which I mentioned before. Card's excellent. Anytime you open Adhara and some other stuff, I mean, I'm just really happy. You got X-Ton Bitch. Hate this card with a passion, but it's legal. You might as well play it. Baguska, amazing card. If you have nothing else turn 1, you can just summon that, and you usually feel pretty happy. I mean, you have Baguska and, I don't know, D-Fissure or Skill Drain. There's very little chance that they're going to be able to directly affect that field or just break it outright. Abyss Dweller actually comes in handy. Do not underestimate Abyss Dweller, especially if your opponent goes first, throws a bunch of shit in the graveyard. If you're able to break their field and then Abyss Dweller them, I mean, it does 10 times in that moment what Dulka or Logia would do. Got Bahamut Triatoad for the reasons I mentioned before. Good cards. Megalo Smashers of Water. Love it. Tornado Dragon. Love it. It's, again, another -2. I mean, you just go end phase, hit it, and then draw phase, hit it again. And then you got the rank 7s, which I mentioned before, and Zeus, because it's obnoxious, and why does this card exist, and you might as well play it. On to the side deck. You got 3 Ghost Ogre. I mentioned the single-purpose card thing, but this is strictly for Runic, and because being able to interrupt their field spell is fucking huge. If you can negate, let's say they have a Fiendsmith engine in there or something, if you can negate, if you have a Dulka and a Ghost Ogre, and you're able to Ghost Ogre their field spell and Dulka away their monster effects, you should probably win that game, and Ghost Ogre just becomes a real key interruption piece, along with cards like Droll at times. You got 3 Shifter, shuts them off for the entire turn. I mean, I know that you have D-Fissure and whatnot, but D-Fissure kind of sucks going second. This does not. Thunder King, it's another spot that I needed another monster, and it was just something good to help side in, especially if the barrier statue isn't working, or if you need to get rid of Rise Heart, but you still want to have another normal summon if you're going first or something. You have things like Thunder King. You got double Swords of Concealing Light, just another really good board breaker. I mean, it was a 3rd Super Poly, or I was messing around with that, but I just find Concealing Light, A, it doesn't have any cost, B, it Book of Moons everything, which is pretty much just as good. I mean, in this kind of a deck, especially when you have cards like Fenrir and other direct removal like your spells, you don't really worry about things like monster attacks as much as you used to in this kind of deck. And Swords of Concealing Light, being able to shut... It's a card that you need to directly respond to right then, or your field's gone. Double Necro Valley. I love this card so damn much. And yes, it does hinder you, but it will absolutely destroy a lot of the decks you sided in against. Like, oh no, I can't use my barrel. Well, that sucks, but I have a Dulka and, like, back row and a Necro Valley, so, I mean, I think you're probably suffering from it way more than I am. Maybe that's just my kind of strategy. I am the Yu-Gi-Oh! Equivalent of a voodoo doll. Third D Fissure. Card's just excellent, so glad it's back. You could talk me into playing a macro, but I just like the speed of Fissure, and it doesn't really make a huge difference, especially with a lot of things being Link and Synchro heavy now. You're not really going to have to worry about Exceed materials being a huge factor, so, you know, why not? And then Triple Evenly, round the deck out. One of the most unfair cards in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't know why it's even legal still, but it's just another great power card. I mean, you evenly match through their field, summon a Fenrir, and like normal summon a Rescue Rabbit. Like, your opponent's in a lot of shit. But that's the deck, you guys. That is my 2024 Dino Rabbit deck profile, and I really like it. I'm a huge fan of Dino Rabbit. I always have been. It's always been my kind of deck. It's been really fun just being able to break out the old strategy and being able to modernize it with some of these new cards and being able to build it into something that's not just a gimmick nostalgia deck. Just warms my cold, calloused Yu-Gi-Oh! Heart. So that's about it. Really hope you guys enjoyed this. Yes, that Gravekeeper deck profile is coming. I have not forgotten. I haven't been perfectly happy with it yet, and Gravekeepers are a deck that I take more pride in than any other deck, as anybody that's watched me for a long time will know. So that's coming. Look for that in the hopefully near future. We'll see how it goes. And if you have any suggestions for the deck, for the Dino Rabbit deck, or really for anything else, or anything you'd like to see me profile, be sure to leave a comment, and I will see you soon. I promise.